Hello there. Hi, dear Mosaic family. It seems like a long time since we had any communication. 2020 hasn't worked out the way that I thought it would for a number of reasons, and they keep changing all the time. But I wanted to use this opportunity to say hello. I'm aware I haven't been with the church, I think, since early January. I was supposed to come in, I think, mid-February, and then had to cancel because of a storm. And then the following Sunday I was coming and had to cancel because Sue was unwell. So I want to use this just short video to say a few things to you about Sue, actually about the church, and maybe just some thoughts about the situation we're facing at the moment with this coronavirus. So Sue also sends her love. Many of you will be aware she's still in hospital in London. In fact, I'm going up to visit her straight after recording this. And progress has just been slow. It hasn't worked out the way that we hoped it would. Very briefly, Sue, as many of you will know, had a stem cell transplant back in late December. And quite quickly in the new year, she started to develop quite severe side effects of the chemotherapy that she had that really lasted most of January. Just as she was starting to come out of that and recover, she then developed quite a severe complication in the liver, which can happen to a small percentage of people as a result of this procedure. And it took about 3 weeks for her liver to recover. While that was going on, she then started to get some reaction of what they call graft versus host disease, where the donor cells start to realize they're not in their own body and attack tissue. And so we're in the middle of that. It's actually recovering well. Her skin is a lot better than it was, came out with rashes. It's recovering well. She also got it in the gut, which was actually much more severe, and ended up with her being in critical care about 3 weeks ago. And she was really quite unwell at that point, but there's been much prayer, and Sue's pulled through that really well, and the doctors are very pleased. The gut seems to be calming down as well. But actually, it's taken its toll on her. She's actually quite weak still. Her recovery is slow. So can I ask you to keep praying? Thank you so much. I know so many of you have been praying so faithfully, and Sue and I are grateful, deeply grateful for that. Can I ask you, please, just to continue to pray for Sue to gain energy? She hasn't been out of bed very much for probably about a month. So she needs physio to do that. And also pray for her to start eating again. She's still being fed largely through a line. She needs to start eating again. I think once she does that, recovery will happen quite fast. The big picture news is amazing. They're saying she's free of leukemia, which is the big picture, which is great. But obviously there are implications going on with the virus at the moment. She continues to be immunosuppressed, which means that she would be in a high-risk category. Please pray for protection from that. I have to keep weighing up what I'm doing. I'm probably the only person visiting her at the moment, and I don't know how long that will continue. So we're trusting God. We're both full of faith. We're both believing that we're in the hands of God, and He's overseeing and overshadowing us. And He is a faithful God. So I'm just looking forward and longing for the day when we're both back in Berlin together. We love the church. We want to get back there. So that's just a quick update. Thank you so much for praying. It's been a tough season, if I'm honest. There's been some weeks that have been very difficult, and I kind of should have done more communication, but there's just some weeks when I haven't been able to. So hopefully you'll appreciate that. This is an update. I want to say some other things quickly. Let me talk about Dave and Jenny Schnitter have been with us since early January. I have to say I'm so grateful that they're with us. Everything that I can see is they're doing a great work amongst us, getting to know us. Dave, in case you're wondering really what he's doing, I would have shared back in February, wasn't with the church to be able to share. Dave has now got overall responsibility for all our children's ministry, all our welcome and integration ministry. He's probably increasingly going to pick up some more of the preaching in the church responsibility. And I see Dave more and more getting involved pastorally with people as well. So he's carrying quite a workload already for us. And I think it's just a season for him just to get to know us. He's got to work out how he does that now with all the restrictions that are on in terms of social gathering. But I'm sure we'll work that out and we'll get through this season. One more thing I want to say. While I'm away, my time away has been a lot longer than I anticipated, and I think emotionally I've been more distracted than I anticipated. So I just want to commend that there's a team, as you know, that were doing a lot of things with me. Obviously Alan, Toby as well, with David helping to support that operationally in terms of all that the church does. Dave is now in that team, and that team continues to meet and pray and plan and care for this church family. And what I've asked to Dave to do now, increasingly in my ongoing absence, is to take much more of a leadership role in that team and begin to care for the church and lead the church. And the team are very happy with that. So I just want to honour Dave. I know Dave will be more in contact with you via social media and all sorts of ways in this coming season. But I've asked him to start to pick up some leadership in that team and leadership in Mosaic in my really ongoing absence in terms of what I can do. I think it's important. I wanted to say that to you today. I just want to honour Dave in that. Let me say a few other things about this season we're in. It's obviously unprecedented. None of us were expecting it. Let me encourage you to do maybe three things. One is, please remain confident in God. It's very easy to be distracted in this season. It's very easy to become fearful. We don't want to dismiss that. We don't want to be flippant with people, just say, don't be afraid. People will be afraid. I see people afraid in the Bible, actually. I see even David being afraid in Psalm 94. David talks about it. He said it feels like his foot is slipping and the ground under him is moving. And I think sometimes this season can feel a bit like that. It's like almost as an earthquake, as the ground's moving underneath us. But he says, your love, O Lord, supported me. And he says, even when anxiety was great within me, your encouragement brought joy to my soul. And I want to say, this is a season to get encouragement from God. It's a season that even if someone like David can be a little fearful or a little anxious, it's okay, but it's what we do with that fear and anxiety. Let the encouragement of God come to us, and he will support us and he will build us up. Find our confidence in him. Let me just say also, it's a season to be generous. Generosity might look different than it has done. I don't think we can be generous with our time in terms of seeing people, going out and just loving people face to face. It's going to be more difficult, but we can be generous with our emails we send. We can be generous with the text messages. We can be generous with our phone each other, make contact with each other, check in with each other. We can be generous in those ways. We can be reaching out and thinking of others. It's easily a season where we can close in on ourselves, and I almost feel that myself. And I'm speaking to myself. I don't want to close in on myself. Being full of Jesus, I want to be generous. I want to reach out to people. Can I say also, just very briefly, be generous with our money as well as our time and our gifting. This is a season that I speak to myself when I say this. I can get distracted with money. I don't want to just hold on to things. I want to keep being generous. So I ask you to think about that. Please give your best to God. Don't just give what's left or get afraid about that. The church continues. Our church continues. We continue to have to spend money. We've got people earning salaries. We've got money going on the building, which we're just trying to look at the moment. We don't get any support from anywhere else at Mosaic. It's totally funded by the amazing generosity of people in the church. I just want to gently say to you, and I speak to myself when I say that, let's not get fearful or distracted. Let's keep being generous with all of our money and all of our lives and everything we do, and be outward looking and not just come closed in on ourselves. It's a gentle encouragement. The final thing I would say to you is this: be prayerful. Paul's often telling us in the Bible, pray for all things on all occasions. Please pray for the nation of Germany. Please pray for government in Germany that they make wise decisions. Please pray for the church. Pray for all the churches in Berlin that love God. Pray for Mosaic as a family. Pray for our leadership. Pray for Dave and Jenny. Pray for your leaders at Mosaic. Pray that we would know God, that we would make good decisions, that would be full of faith. Pray for each other. I love you. May the blessing of God be on all of you, and I just look forward to seeing you again as soon as I can. I love you all. Much love from Sue and I.